Bro, imagine spending years publicly calling someone a fraud, a puppet, and a plant. Imagine going on the most watched podcast appearance in entertainment history and telling 86 million people that this man stole your entire career. Then imagine walking into that same man's roast on live television in front of thousands of people and absolutely cooking him to his face. Now imagine after all of that, Kevin Hart gets up and says the beef is over. They hug it out. The crowd goes crazy. And then Kevin turns to the camera and goes, "Wait for it, that was the best acting I have ever done in my career. I did not mean one word of what I said." Stay with me, because that moment is just the beginning of what went down. And Katt Williams? Yeah, he had thoughts. All right, let me give you the full picture, because if you don't know the backstory, this is going to hit half as hard as it should. Katt Williams and Kevin Hart have been beefing for over a decade, and this is not your typical celebrity beef, where two people take shots on Twitter and move on. This is 11 years of one man methodically, surgically, trying to dismantle another man's legacy. It started around 2014, when Katt started making noise about Kevin joining the Hollywood machine. Then it escalated. By 2016, Katt was on stage in Atlanta calling Kevin a puppet and comparing him to Kermit the Frog. Not a person, a lifeless piece of fabric being operated by someone behind the curtain. That image was devastating, and it stuck. Then, in January 2024, Katt sat down with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay, and bro, the internet has not been the same since. 86 million views. 86 million. That is the most viral podcast appearance in entertainment history, and Katt came loaded. He said Kevin was an industry plant. He said nobody in comedy had a memory of a sold-out Kevin Hart club show. He said for 5 years, every film Kevin made had been offered to him first, and he turned them all down. He basically said Kevin Hart is a product, not a comedian. Here is where it gets crazy though. Katt later admitted at New York Magazine's Vulture Festival that he wrote that appearance out mathematically to kill the careers of the people he was talking about. His words. And he said he held back. He said what the world saw was just the jabs. He kept the knockout blows in his pocket. So when Netflix announced the roast of Kevin Hart, everyone had one question. Is Katt going to show up? May 10th, 2026. The Kia Forum in Los Angeles. Netflix is streaming this thing live. Shane Gillis is hosting. The lineup is stacked. Pete Davidson, Chelsea Handler, Regina Hall, Draymond Green, Tony Hinchcliffe, Tom Brady showing up for revenge, The Rock, Usher. It is an event. And then Regina Hall steps to the mic and introduces a name nobody in that building was fully prepared to hear. Katt Williams walks out, black hat, long black leather cape, looking like a villain in a movie he wrote himself. No cap, the crowd did not just cheer, they erupted. Because this was not a celebrity showing up to a party. This was an enemy walking into hostile territory and smiling about it. And he opened his mouth, and the very first thing he said was, "I am surprised they invited me." That is how little star power you have. They had to start inviting your enemies. From there, he did not let up. He said privately, "This man stole everything from me." He said before Kevin saw his act, Kevin was a 6'3" white man. He turned the industry plant accusation into a punchline. I keep burying him, and he keeps springing back up just like a plant. The crowd lost it. Then he got to the Diddy material, and bro, this is where the room got electric. He said just because Kevin went to Diddy parties does not mean he did something wrong. And then he let it hang in the air for a second. Then he said, the fact that he gets all quiet when you bring it up, that means he did something wrong. No joke structure, no punchline. Just a straight accusation delivered to a man's face on live television. Everything Katt had been saying in podcasts and interviews and on stage for 11 years. He served it all up that night with a grin and turned it into comedy gold. Now, the roast itself generated plenty of conversation, but there was one moment that crossed out of comedy and into something else entirely. Tony Hinchcliffe made a George Floyd joke, and that joke did not land clean. Kevin went on The Breakfast Club to address it and had to basically defend the existence of comedy to people who apparently had never watched a roast in their life. He said, if you are watching a roast, you get why racial humor is on the table. He said, go look at the Tom Brady roast. This is what they do every year. It is not new. And when they pushed him on whether Tony went too far, he said, it is Tony Hinchcliffe. Like, I do not expect less. I do not expect more. Bro, that answer is actually perfect. He is not co-signing the joke. He is not canceling his own roast. He is saying, you knew what this was when you clicked play. Then Charlemagne starts pushing him to just say the joke was tasteless on record. Just say it publicly. And Kevin goes, if I open that door, that is the door people expect all the time. Why do I need to prove to people that I care? And he is right, because here's the thing people miss about that Breakfast Club exchange. The people applying pressure were not actually looking for an apology. They wanted to confirm they could extract one. The moment you give that statement under pressure, you have handed over a lever that never goes away. Kevin held his ground, and honestly, that is harder than it sounds in 2026.
Watching Kevin Hart Breakfast Club interview proves that he is exactly who Katt Williams always said that he was. Did I expect something differently? Yes, I don't know why, but he gave what he always gave, which is... Now, a lot of people are not going to agree with me and going to say, it's a roast. That's what they're supposed to do. No, baby. I feel like that was not comedy. That was crossing the line. And it was not just the George Floyd jokes. It was all of the jokes. The whole daggone thing was distasteful, if you ask me. Now, I don't care what nobody say. You cannot tell me that that partnership with Netflix did not make Kevin a big bag. The show probably made him a big bag. So do he want to take accountability because of the relationship that he had with George Floyd family, whatever the case may be? Who knows, right? I feel like he may have, but I feel like because that bag was on the line, his pockets are lined up, that he like, hell no, I got to make sure that I keep and secure this relationship with Netflix. That's in my opinion. Now, huge shout out to the Breakfast Club for doing the interview, especially Lauren, right? Asking all of the hard questions. I feel like all of them asked the hardest questions, right? Or the hard questions. But when Lauren asked him, did he see the interview with her and George Floyd brother? His response was distasteful, it was disrespectful, and it was very disingenuous. At this point, Kevin, you just should have kept quiet, right? It was simmering down. Nobody was even thinking about that shit other than Umar, right? Dr. Umar. But other than that, you just should have let it die down and kept it moving because it did not give what you thought it was going to give. I don't know if your PR team came out and said, hey, Kevin, you got to say something to the people. I don't know if it was because the question was asked at the interview that made you feel like you had to say something, but you could have kept all that nastiness to yourself.
Here is where the whole night flips. After Katt finishes his set, Kevin stands up in front of the live audience and says, "Me and this man have been at odds for years on years." And then he extends an olive branch on national television. He tells Katt he wants to be his brother, his friend. He says, "This is live TV. Let us put the beef behind us in real time." Katt walks over. They shake hands. They hug. The crowd stands up. 11 years of public warfare ended with a handshake in front of millions of people. And then Kevin turns to the camera and goes, "Everybody said tonight I cannot act. Go back and look at that moment. That was the best acting of my career. I did not mean one word of what I said." The crowd exploded. Here's the thing though. Was he joking about not meaning it? Or was the olive branch the joke and the anger the truth? Because a roast is literally the one format where you cannot tell the difference. That ambiguity is not a bug. It is the whole point. What we do know is that Kevin later said they are talking about doing things together and have great ideas to shake things up for the culture. So something real happened that night, even if the comedy made it impossible to pinpoint exactly what. So where does this all land? Katt Williams showed up to his enemy's celebration on his enemy's platform. Funded by the corporation he spent years accusing of controlling his enemy, and delivered the set of the night. Kevin Hart himself said he showed out. That is the most honest review Katt could have gotten. The George Floyd joke controversy showed something else. Kevin Hart is one of the few people in entertainment right now who will not perform remorse on demand. He handled the Floyd family privately, directly, through phone calls rather than press releases, and he refused to let a crowd of people use his name as a vehicle for their own outrage. That is a business decision and a personal one, and he made both clearly. Katt spent 11 years trying to bury Kevin Hart. Kevin spent 11 years quietly building a $450 million empire without ever meaningfully engaging. And on May 10th, they ended up on the same stage, in the same moment, creating something neither of them could have created alone. The beef might be over. The story definitely is not. Drop a comment below. Do you think that handshake was real? Or was Kevin right when he said that was acting? Anyway, this concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to LoafTube for future celebrity videos, and turn on that post notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Until then, see you in the next one.